All right, welcome back to part 2 of our 2-part chakra episode. Today we're going to be going through the heart, throat, third eye, and crown chakra. Really appreciate Hannah again for taking this time for this 2-part episode. Very much appreciate her knowledge and her in-depth understanding of these areas, and look forward to continuing this conversation. We'll see you on the other side. But first, a message from our sponsor. Anam Cara is a gorgeous meditation and healing center, offering daily in-person and virtual services to help bring you back to the center of who you truly are. They serve through a collective of practitioners, healers, and teachers, offering daily meditation classes, one-on-one healing sessions, workshops, personal ceremonies, and private events, plus corporate and team training, all with mindfulness at the core. The center itself is located in the heart of downtown Spokane. Every part of it was built, designed, and curated for you to drop into your calm place. They have a large community space for daily meditation classes and workshops, as well as 2 one-on-one healing rooms, a community kitchen to gather for tea, plus a well-stocked apothecary for you to gather all of your self-care and ritual needs. Hannah Talbot, the owner and founder of Anam Cara, dreamed of opening this space for years. It is her ultimate manifestation, and she cannot wait to share it with those in the Spokane community, but also through the virtual ethers, wherever you may be. Pop in for a class today. You can follow them on Instagram to book and stay up to date. Check out the website, the full schedule, meet the practitioners, and view all the offerings. Visit them at anamcarahealing.center. Anam Cara, may you be nourished and ignited. Our healing journey can be difficult and might feel lonely at times. That's why I love sound baths. When we can get together in a community, we intrinsically support and feel supported by others. And that combined energy can help us go deeper into our own healing journeys. And all you have to do is just lay there for 1 hour and listen to beautiful healing sounds. I'm a sound healing practitioner, and I hold sound baths on a regular basis in the greater Seattle area. You can find my next sound baths on my website at adamrealhealing.com. That's Adam, A-D-A-M, Real, R-I-E-H-L, Healing, H-E-A-L-I-N-G.com. AdamRealHealing.com. Your healing is worth your time. And now an uninterrupted episode with Hannah Talbot. All right, welcome back. This is our, probably our second part of this talk. I haven't figured out if I'm going to push them together in one episode or not, but either way, I'm back with Hannah Talbot, the owner of Anam Cara over in Spokane, and we're continuing our Chakra Talk. So if, depending again, we went through the first 3 chakras, now we're in our Heart Chakra. But before we jump into the Heart Chakra and kind of go up into our crown, I want to just talk about what you're doing. Because, so you've been on this podcast twice now, and every time I've gotten such great feedback. I've gotten so much out of the conversations, and I leave so lovingly filled. Like my cup is like, I just miss you so much.
Me too.
And as much as I miss you, and I miss being able to just go see your face and experience your aura in person, you are doing such beautiful and amazing things over in Eastern Washington in Spokane. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the reasons why you went out there, was to take the gifts that you've been nurturing and cultivating into a new area of the world. And so, that you haven't been open for too long. You've been hustling for a little while.
Yeah, it's been quite the year.
Yeah. So talk about Anam Cara. I'm so excited. I haven't seen the space in person yet, but everything that I read about and you've talked about and you've shown me, like, I feel like if I was there, I would just spend my entire life there. That I would just like live, eat, sleep, Anam Cara.
That's how we built it. That's how we built it. We really built the space here in Spokane for people to feel like it's theirs. To feel like they can just come in, drop everything else off, and just be. And that's probably what we hear the most about the physical space, is that people just feel so held, they feel safe, they feel calm, they feel relaxed. Like often we hear people just,
yes, those deep breaths.
So it's really special. And I can't remember, but I'm just guessing that probably the first podcast that I did with you, either I was working on the space in Issaquah or I was just letting the space go. It's somewhere in there, but
right in there. I can't remember.
Yeah. The plan was always to open something in Issaquah, and like so many people, COVID really flipped everything upside down and in the best of ways, but it shook my personal life up. And basically everything that wasn't working needed to fall away. my window just like opened as a big gust of wind just came in, like, ah! I'm going to close it because downtown's loud. But just really had to surrender into what needed to be let go. So first it was the space, letting the physical space in Issaquah go, which just never even got to open because of so many reasons, because basically, but the biggest reason beyond, COVID and permits and all these silly things is that I was trying to shrink this big, beautiful dream into this teeny tiny space, which was really about fear, that I was scared to, go all in.
Yeah. And
that it wasn't the right place, the right time. I wasn't in the right alignment. There were so many things that's why it wasn't coming with ease. So we literally shook everything up, even to the point of my husband and I separated for a while and weren't sure if that was going to work out. Right. We sold our house, didn't know where we were going to live, but I knew we were coming to Spokane, and I knew that there was an opportunity here to have the space that I had been wanting to open, which was a community, a community space, really a place for self-care and community care. Yeah. And, all the things that I do under one roof. So I just saw such an opportunity, and it was like, we're going. Yeah. And I don't know why, but we're supposed to go, and either you're in or you're out, right. Everyone. Yep. And so, took the giant leap of faith and did the trust fall, into really to spirit, to being guided to where I was supposed to go. And truly everything unfolded here in just such beautiful, perfect timing. We came here and immediately found our community through, we're lucky enough to be in a Waldorf school here, and found our community. And then through that, I effortlessly found my landlord, which I could tell the whole story about that, but it's literally a whole podcast about all of the divine synchronicities and that drew me to this space. Like I literally saw it before I'd ever even seen it. Like there's so many crazy stories. Yeah. But my landlord is so in alignment with me, is amazing. And then she's, one of the parents at the school that my son is going or goes to school at. And so our kids are friends, and it's so great. And then my designer was also there at the school. Our kids are in class together, and then she became the general contractor, and we just worked together so well. And she was able to take my vision, because I'd been dreaming about the space for 6 years. I knew exactly how I wanted it to feel, how I wanted it to look. I mean, down to like, the vision boards I created. So, she just took it and elevated it though, and then helped me execute the shit out of it. Like she just killed it. So just really had this team around me to feel trusted and held. And then all of the teachers who I've called in and practitioners, I mean, it actually like, whew.
Yeah.
It's really powerful.
Just seeing the staff that you have and the pictures that you've shared, and now the bios that I've read that are on your website, and just like, I feel just so loved already by your staff. And I've never met them, but I think part of that love that I feel is one, that I trust you so much in the people that you surround yourself with, that I know you would not surround yourself with anybody but the most amazing amount of love. And the few people that I've met through you since you've moved to Spokane have been such amazing, amazing humans. The two ladies from I Am Alliance, Sierra and Abby, just these beautiful, beautiful humans, that it's no doubt that you have found all those beautiful humans and probably put them in one place and said, hey, this is where beautiful humans are going to go and heal and just be. And now everybody's welcome. Come and heal.
Exactly. It's designed to be a collective, and it's designed to have people bring their own individual gifts. There's no standard really for our classes other than that we'll focus on mindfulness and breath. But it's like, it's the classes, the workshops, the one-on-one sessions, everything is touched by not just myself, but these people who love so deeply. It really moves me, because each one of them was also divinely called in, just like all of our stories that we have with like, wait, now how did we meet? Like, no way, because I'm new here. I've only been here a year, and half of that year was still locked down. Nothing was happening. And so it's just incredible. And they're just the best people, the best team. So what we do here at the Healing Center is we have daily meditation classes. They're 20 to 30 minutes long. We offer classes in person, but we also just launched virtual classes. So you can log on from anywhere. And then we will be having an archive of our meditations as well. So people can just pull those classes whenever they want. But the classes are, designed to be for our busy lifestyle, 20 to 30 minutes. And they go so fast. And like I said, each teacher just brings something amazing to it. So we have several of those classes a day. We have drop-in, but also membership. It's kind of like a yoga studio, and if you're here in town, we serve tea before and after class to really give that community feel. We want you to come in and hang out. We want you to connect with your teacher and spend time with us, and ask questions and tell us what's going on. Like, it really is a place to support community. And yeah, we're just so lucky to have had such incredible practitioners and facilitators come through here to hold workshops and everything from, last night we had a summer solstice sound bath that had kirtan and had we did Sanskrit chanting, and it was just, it was beautiful, beautiful. And, we've done ecstatic dance, we've done couples things, we've done, there's just more coming too. We could do workshops every day because there's so many amazing people doing amazing things out here. So, and then we have the one-on-one rooms. So we have practitioners that do everything like, Reiki and earth medicine and, energy work and chakra balancing like I do. And then we have practitioners who do all different kinds of body work, shamanic work. We have amazing practitioners and more coming. So, and also again, virtual practitioners for that as well. And then we have the apothecary.
Oh, wow.
So it's this gorgeous store that has basically everything for self-care and ritual. And the store is stocked with most of my beautiful friends' stuff. Carmen, who I think was just on your podcast earlier this week. I'm sure that episode's coming out soon. From Heart Farm. We have her flower essences and aura sprays and her grief kit. We have Monica's malas, which literally just fly off the shelf. People are obsessed with them. And then we just got Kelly Ramsey's jewelry in from Della Brass. We're obsessed with that as well. So, and more, just the store is filled with beautiful things, mostly female makers, but, just things that are for self-care and ritual. And then of course, we're doing corporate training. So we do mindfulness and stress and anxiety training, corporate experiences, staff and team connecting. So it's full.
Man, just watching you light up as you talk about this beautiful space and what
you're doing. I could keep going and going. I'm in love with it. It's holding me in such beautiful ways. And the more that I continue to surrender into the trust of that, we're here for a reason. We're in the heart of downtown Spokane. It's a city, and just like every other city in COVID has definitely had, some tough times for some of the people who were already struggling. So I know we're here for a reason, to do good work in this community, not just for ourselves, but for others that need it too, that don't even know it yet, or don't have the accessibility. So I'm excited to see where it's going to go. It's crazy to think that it's just been, it's just actually today, 4 months today. Woo. 4 months today.
Good stuff. Hell yeah.
Yes. So thank you. Thank you for letting me gush.
Yeah. And this is just the beginning, this is I've heard your vision for years now, and I've sat with you while you talked about your vision and manifested that vision. And just to see the joy that you've brought yourself in this, execution of this vision, and the continued love and just empathy and just everything that you're bringing to this community, that it's just scratching the surface. And one of the things that I love about, and I'll say it, I love about this COVID experience is that it has awakened a lot of us to the understanding that we're fucking broken and we need to heal in some kind of way. And I'm not saying the word broken is a bad thing. Like we all have some kind of thing we need to get past, right? Some kind of trauma, some kind of event in our life. And I think that, the slowing down of the world gave us an opportunity to really understand that we do need to do this work and we do have stuff that we're working on. And so things like what you're doing out in Spokane and, all these energetic, practices that are starting to come out and starting to become more popularized, the world needs to heal. The world needs to heal. We have so much to heal from. And so places like what you're doing, different modalities of healing, the almost like a melting pot of a healing space. Like, please come in, choose your path, right? You might come in and say, meditation is the thing I want to do. And then all of a sudden it's like, you're in a Reiki room. It's like, oh my God, I never thought this could be a thing for me. Like thank you. Thank you for doing what you do.
I love you, brother. Yes. And it's so true. It's like, I do think that COVID was the mirror for us, ourselves, for society. And we are all whole. We are all perfect embodiments of exactly who we're supposed to be. It's just peeling back those layers. Right. It's just getting to the heart of it, and that's really what we do here. That is our mission, is to drop you in your heart center, because from there, oh my gosh, perfect transition into Anahata.
There you go. Yeah. So we'll continue our chakra talk. Well, actually, before we do that, what does Anam Cara mean? I meant to ask.
Oh, yes. So Anam Cara means soul friend. And that came to me in a journey. Soul friend came to me in a journey. So I had been calling myself a soul care practitioner for a couple years, and I was wanting to change my business name because the first name no longer, embodied everything that I did, and just wasn't, the right representation. And so I was sitting on it for months, because I didn't want to just like change it willy-nilly. I didn't want it to sound trendy. I wanted it to be connected to my own lineage, which is, I happen to have my lineage is, European, Gaelic, German, Italian, French, just all over Europe. That's where I come from. And so I wanted it to, have a connection to that, to my own lineage as well. And so I really was sitting with it for a while. And I did this journey in the bath one day, and just kept hearing the word soul friend, soul friend, soul friend, soul friend. That's what you are. You're a soul friend. And so when I got out of the bath, I was like, all right, what other language, what other words, phrases are there for soul friend? And then Anam Cara popped up, and it's, it's a Gaelic phrase, soul friend. But John O'Donohue wrote a beautiful book that is a book of blessings, and it goes from birth to death. And that's really what the Anam Cara is somebody who can walk with you from birth to death. Wow. As your soul's companion, as a friend to hold your hand, to guide, to support, to just be by your side. Wow. And that's really what we are. We are soul friends for you to walk your path, to help you walk your path, whatever that looks like. Yeah. So, and the book is just, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Anyone who knows it adores it. Yeah. So.
I've got a John O'Donohue book. I don't think it's Anam Cara, but I think
he's got a couple.
You recommended it to me, actually.
Yeah,
and I use it now. I love the phrasing, the poems that he writes, and I use them at the end of sound baths. Yeah. They land so well. His words are so beautiful. I've really got to check out the Anam Cara.
Very connected. It's very similar to the blessings, and there may even be a couple of repeats in there. But he's very connected to land, to place, to earth, to the human experience, and then does it through these these blessings that are like poetry. So yes, it's beautiful. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you again for having that
asking.
space. You know, like I'm
I can't wait to get you over here. I
know.
can't wait to get you over
I
here.
know. I'm so excited. Well, now that you're introducing me to so many Spokanites, or what are they called? Spokanians?
Now everybody's gonna know who you are.
I got to get out there and meet some people, you know, shake some hands, kiss some babies, all that stuff.
Love it.
All right, so let's transition into our chakra talk. So we're picking back up with heart, which is our last bodily chakra, right? Our body chakras. And you mentioned earlier, Anahata is the Sanskrit name for it, and generally recognize the color green, but also can have like the color pink or red. You know, love kind of ideas in there. And so for me, the heart is one of my first places that I start. If I'm doing an energy healing, if I'm working with somebody, especially somebody that's new that I haven't worked with before, I'll generally start on their heart chakra and just kind of get a good reading, how the body's feeling, how the emotional body's feeling. One of the techniques I really love that I learned not too long ago was having a hand on their forehead, basically third eye, and then a hand on their heart, and then oming. And allowing those vibrations to really just, paying attention to those subtle energies and just seeing, because that, those two areas of the body are so powerful, and there's so much energy going on in those areas that for me, those are the telltale signs for me. It's like, okay, head, heart, let's start there, and then we'll go out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think of the heart kind of like a generator. And, you can do this with all the chakras, right? But like if you start at the heart, it goes around up to the crown, down to the root, to the third eye, to the second chakra, to the throat, to the manipura, and then back to the heart again. And so, the heart really does kind of like acts like a generator for everything and can really feed everything and nurture and nourish and protect.
Yeah.
It's such a precious space. And I always think of like that energetic space is like, it never, ever stops working for you.
Right.
And it's been beating since before you were even born, before you took your first breath of oxygen, your heart was already beating for you. And this cadence, you already had your own individual cadence, within the womb space. And that connected to, the cadence of the mother.
Yeah.
So it's very precious and special. And I think to me, it's like, such reverence for that area because it's our emotional like storage unit.
Yeah. Well, and we did a talk a while ago, actually. I think it might have been our first one where we talked about the heart biosphere and how the heart actually takes in, what they're finding is the heart takes in most of the information the body thinks the brain takes in, and then it disperses it either up to the brain or down to the gut, and that's, just think about how many times like you feel that flutter in your heart, or that something like all of a sudden your heart starts beating really hard. It's just like this. That's the information that's coming in. And then it's like, okay, so where does that information need to go, up or down? Right? Is that gut? Is that gut information? Is that brain information? What do we need to do? Do we need to mobilize? Do we need to what's up?
Yeah, and that energetic center, the heart, that regulates everything else in the nervous system. And I'm sure we talked about on the last call, heart coherence, and using the heart to bring the body into coherent regulation, because you've got your blood pressure, your heart rate, and then that heart rate variability in between. And those lines are usually running jagged and not, at the same rhythm.
Right.
And so your body feels like that, like a song that's out of sync, not in harmony. And so when we breathe in through our heart space and literally think of that, it's called the heart lock technique. You breathe into your heart space. And then, once you get that breath going in the heart space and kind of imagine breathing into your heart, then you imagine feelings of gratitude. And that also has so many studies on, you know, the neurological effects of gratitude.
Yes.
And then what that does to our nervous system, our immune system, and just general empathy for the world, you know, and others and ourselves. So you get into that gratitude feeling and kind of seep into those feelings. And then from there, send it out. And it's like, imagine, you know, you can imagine one person, you can imagine lots of people receiving it, but it's this idea of expansion, right? And so it's like, there's 35 plus years of research on this that are scientific, you know, peer reviewed researches. I'm not a researcher. So, but they are. And, you know, it's incredible that it's like, this is, your body is energetic,
right?
Like your body is energetic. When your heart stops, they use electricity to start that heart back up again, you know? And so it's like, you are so much more beyond this, you know, you're all out here. And that is how we sense the world. And it's like, you know, you can sense it before you even get into a room. You know, sometimes you'll start to get anxiety or excitement, or like you're picking up on the energy of that space before you even get there.
Right.
And that is not your brain. That is your heart sensing, oh, I can feel other people's energy. I can feel what's happening in that space.
Yeah. So,
or when you just meet somebody and you just get a feeling, I like them. I don't like them. Right. You know, like, not my person. Like, you know, it's an energetic reading. They don't have to say anything. You sense. So, and that's all done from the heart space. And the heart is, you know, it is that kind of emotional regulator. I think you said, you know, you start at the heart, and for so many reasons, you know, we can often, that's where we often put up a lot of protection,
right? A lot of barriers,
and for good reason, you know, a lot of barriers, a lot of walls, a lot of, like I said, you know, for good reason, these kind of layers that don't let stuff in or out always.
Right. Yeah.
So I know we've both experienced that with clients.
Yes, most definitely. That's where our guarding is pretty much the strongest around our heart. You know, that's where we want to keep ourselves the safest. And, you know, one of the things that I think you actually introduced this idea to me was the extension of your heart into your hands, but also into your knees.
Yes,
and so
I love
it. The hands made complete sense to me when I was like, oh, that makes sense, because we shake hands, we receive, we give, love, we hug, right? But the knees, because I didn't grow up religious, so I didn't grow up like, you know, worshiping anything. But that made so much sense to me when you explained that. And so like the heart chakra, you know, resonates down on our knees as well, because when we get down on our knees to greet a child, right? When we get down on our knees to pray to our whatever, right? Our gods, our lords, or whatever it is, you know, there's that extension of showing love by getting down on our knees to prostrate in front of something and, you know, ask forgiveness, whatever it is. And I love that idea. And the first person I tried that on, because this was during our, I think it was Reiki level 1 that you were doing. And so when I finished level 1, you know, we were practicing on ourselves and able to practice on friends, but, you know, not accept money and blah, blah, blah. And happened to be my mom was in town. And this was a number of years ago, before my mom had any health issues. And she was like one of the first people outside of Monica that I practiced Reiki on. So she was on my living room floor. I didn't have a bed at the time, you know, and I had, you know, hands on her head, and I was doing all the, you know, going down and doing all the, like the traditional points, you know. I'm like, okay, Hannah would say, put my hands here. Okay. And then I'm going to put my, right. I was making Hannah proud. Right. And I got down to her root, and for whatever reason, after I met her hips, I was like, oh, I'm gonna put my hands on her knees, you know. And I put her hands on my hands on her knees, and she started crying immediately. And you know, and I'm like, okay, well, we'll talk about that after we're done. And so I finished the session and went down, and after we were done, I asked her, I'm like, what was going on with the knees? And she's like, as soon as you touched my knees, and I didn't tell her about the heart or anything like that. She's like, as soon as you touched my knees, I started thinking about my mom and how we would go to Catholic church all the time and pray and get up and pray, and how frustrating it was for my mom, because she had 9 kids, you know, but she took us every Sunday, and we'd go and we'd do the Catholic hokey pokey. We'd sit and stand and pray and sing, and sit and stand and pray and sing. And it just made her so happy to have that memory again. And I'm like, well, wow, that
Yeah,
really
and
does work because here's the info behind it, you know?
I know that some teacher along the way shared that with me. I can't remember who or which one. And, it's not connected in the traditional like Chinese acupuncture. I don't think the knee is connected to the heart. I feel that when I'm on the knees, like and so that's where it's like, you know what? We do have to lead with our own intuition because this is, this is we talked about that the chakras are a Hindu system for interpreting the energetic body. There's other systems, out there. And again, to me, like when I hold that knee, it feels like a literal heart, like in your hand, like the way that if you actually had that organ in your hand, like that kind of roundness. And the mechanism of it just also bending, never stopped working. It constantly is moving for you.
I love it.
It just, it's always, and it just seems so tender.
Yeah.
It's like a tender place and another place to revere. And I'm with you. Like this whole area, shoulders, elbows, hands, all feels very heart connected to me because this is where we support, in the chest, in the shoulders, like I've got you, like you're not alone. So that energy really comes in whenever I'm doing sessions. I feel it from them, and that's also kind of intentionally what I'm bringing in too. But love the heart space. It's beautiful, and it's one that is okay to like really take a lot of time with, to nurture. I think we can both attest to like, boy, heart openers in yoga classes they get you. They are so beautiful, but I mean, like people can have the most resistance, right? Or such a physical reaction to camel, whether, no matter how deep you go, like, and so it's like, just a reminder as you're doing things to nurture the heart, things like heart opening yoga, Reiki, energy work, talking to people, letting your emotions be expressed, sharing and showing empathy, but just like doing it slow because those walls, those protection mechanisms that we've put into place have been there often for us since we were little guys, and we're kind of like that Russian doll, that littlest part of us is in there, and that's where you're getting to, and get to know each of those layers first. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to like rip it all apart and I want my heart to be so open. Like that's not good either. Like you want balance. And so doing it softly, those things have been in place for you for a long time. So making friends with our protection mechanisms and loving them and thanking them for the protection that they gave that was needed at that time. So, and I think we've said that in other parts of the chakra, but that is kind of, it's like, I think Danielle Laporte, actually, I haven't listened to her new podcast, but she just put this out yesterday. You gotta, in order to release it, you gotta love it. Like you gotta, you're not going to release anything until you love it. Right. Like love it till it's gone.
Yep. It's like feeling a spirit inside your house and be like, get out of here. We don't want you. Get the fuck out. It's like, no, hey, that's going to make it dig in its heels and be stronger, right? We got to show love because that's all we want is love. Even the most upset, like just crazy, screaming, crying, snotting person just wants to be held and loved because they feel so abandoned, right? So if we can find our ways in our heart to love that spirit, that being, that energy, that emotion, and show it love, then it feels like it belongs. And we all just want to feel like we belong.
Yeah.
Right.
And just self-love is such a journey, it's such a journey. It's one that I don't think I'll ever be, like, oh, I'm complete, I think there's too much noise out there that tells us that we're not okay, that we're not enough, that we're not whole, that we, all the things. And it's a lot, so it even when we undo, it's like the messaging that's coming at you is like, okay, got to double down,
Yeah.
So yeah, just going slow and just showing yourself so much empathy, starting with the empathy for yourself first.
Yes.
Yeah.
There is something you mentioned about back bends and camel pose and how our chakras and our body, we can feel vulnerable in those moments. And, there's so much to that. I can't remember who it was I was talking to, but this person I was talking to kind of broke it down for me. And they were saying how, like, okay, so let's take it back to when we were apes, right? Before we evolved into where we're at now, we were most part walking on our hands and our feet, right? And our backs were what was facing up, right? So look at how animals walk, right? They walk on most animals walk on all fours. Their back is completely covered, right? Their ribs, their spine, all of their organs are covered by their ribs. They're completely protected from the backside. When they stand up, all of a sudden everything is exposed, right? Every vital organ is exposed. Every vulnerable point in our body is exposed, right? So when we're standing mammals, right? We stand up on 2 feet. We're not crouched down anymore. So now our entire body is exposed and vulnerable, right? And so when we go into a back bend, everything in us is now exposed, right? Think about your chakras in the front side of your body, all just brightly shining out to the world. Think about how vulnerable all of your organs are so that something can come up and just cut you open, right? So back bends are innately very, very hard for us because we don't like to feel that vulnerable. So when we can support ourselves, like camel's my favorite pose because your hands are on your back, you're supporting yourself. So you're creating your own confidence within yourself that, hey, I've got myself. I've got me. I'm going to hold me safe. Know that I'm in a safe place and I'm going to attempt vulnerability. And when we can do that in that safe space, like in a yoga practice or around a loved one or even by yourself, you're creating so much amazing energy for your body because you're like, I'm okay with being vulnerable. I'm okay with the thought of potentially dying. I'm okay with the potentiality of everybody seeing the vulnerability that I expose myself to as a human being. Here I am, fucking accept me, right? And whether you say those words in your mind or not, that's what our fucking cells are thinking, right? So lean into that discomfort because there's so much built into that if we can find that vulnerability in any way, shape, or form, that vulnerability is not anything to be ashamed of or be sad about. Vulnerability, fucking lean into that shit.
Yeah.
Be vulnerable. Talk about
So
what's upsetting you. Talk about what you're scared of, right? Talk about it to your kids, right? When your kids can see you're vulnerable, then they take you off that pedestal of like thinking that you know everything. And then when they finally realize you don't, it's not as big of a crash down because it's like, oh, my dad's a human just like me.
Totally. I mean, and this is so connected to the throat chakra. Like we're already talking about, like, I mean, they're both, and I think the throat chakra, I don't know if we can jump into that
let's do it.
now.
Yeah.
But, again, another one in our society where I think that we are all really healing that on a personal level and culturally, and then even in the masculine and the feminine, arena, and then really all voices, all voices, so yeah, that ability to express and to use your voice and to be heard, and then to have people actually hear what it was you were trying to express the right way, like it landed and it is a beautiful, almost like an art form, I mean, it actually, communication is an art form. It's a work. It's so, and so many of us are closed down there because we're protecting here, and we're protecting all of this down here. And we stay shut off from this because again, protect. So we question all this that's coming in from, downloading and our guidance and our higher self. And expression becomes really hard because who are we? When we're holding it all in, or we're tiptoeing around other people's feelings and emotions to, such an extent that we don't fully express ourselves.
So yeah, you might resonate with this. So with our throat chakra, it's not only speaking with clarity, but also listening with clarity, right? So that's taking our consciousness filter out of what the other person's saying and us interpreting at what they're saying, but actually hearing what they're saying from their heart, right? But so for me, when I first stepped into the ideas of chakras and started to understand this was something I felt like I was like, oh, I'm good at this. My throat chakra is great, right? Because and this was very, very misleading for me and a big shock when I finally realized it. But I was like, I've been in corporate life for at that point about 15 years, right? I've been trained on how to have tough conversations. I've read the book Crucial Conversations. I can't tell you how many times. I've been to seminars on how to coach people, how to lovingly coach people, not just like, iron fist people, right? So I was like, oh, this is cool. My buddy was Jeff Morgan. He taught me everything I know about speaking and listening with clarity. And that was great because I felt like I was really good at speaking clearly to people about business type things. What I wasn't clear about was speaking to myself about the truth, about how I really felt, how I really acted, and how I really showed up in the world. And that was a big, big slap in the face for me because I realized that I was not true to myself at all. I was basically a chameleon of a human being. And that's my Gemini, I'm a people pleaser. So when I finally got to that point, one of the, I can't remember where I read it, but one of the advices that I got was drinking sun water out of a blue glass bottle. And so what I do is I take tap water, fill it up in the blue glass bottle, and put it out in the sun for about 4 hours. And the idea is that there's a double side. Right? Sun water is the idea that all of our drinking water used to be ground level, right? It wasn't underground. It wasn't in pipes. It wasn't recycled. It was ground level. And that ground level water was able to be energized by the sun's radiation. So it held a lot more energy in it than it does now because all of our water is underground for the most part. So the idea of sun water is allowing the radiation of the sun to come back into the water and energize the water so that when we drink it, we have the radiance of the sun. So when you add the blue glass to that, the sun is shining through the blue glass, and that, the glass is, a natural product. It's not plastic. And that tinted blue, the idea is that it's amplifying that water now with the sun and the energy of the blue chakra, of our throat chakra. And so I can tell you for almost 2 years, I drank nothing but blue water. Like I had a whole system down. The families in the house were down. They would in the morning, put out a dozen blue water bottles. In the afternoon, I would take them in, put them in this big jar. We would all drink blue sun water all day long for almost 2 years. And, believe what you want to believe. But, I love the idea that even if you don't believe in the thing that's happening, it's the idea, it's the ritualisticness of I'm thinking about my throat chakra. I'm trying to heal this. I'm trying to amplify this. I'm trying to get pure. And I made so much good progress with that practice. And it's still something that I think my throat chakra is the biggest area of my desire for work, personally and spiritually. But that practice for me was very, very impactful and very, very powerful. And I think too, because it wasn't just me that was doing it, the whole family got involved. So like I had my family and my girls, Monica, but also we had Colleen and the kids living with us then too. So we had Colleen and Torin and Cassie all involved with this whole thing. And it was really, it made a lot of movement for me.
I love that. Yeah. Well, I love that. And I remember that too. I remember that. I just did an amazing throat work practice this last weekend at the I Am Alliance Day Retreat.
Oh, cool.
It was really amazing. And I have had this conversation with friends, with clients, opening that area up and finding your true unique voice, like you said, not the voice that you think everybody wants to hear and that will keep everyone happy and that will please, or the voice that's always right, because sometimes this can be blown out, right? And that's always right, or that can't listen, right? Because like being able to actually listen, because most of us in a conversation are just thinking about the next thing we're going to say.
Right.
We're not even fully taking in or breathing and taking a pause. We're just thinking about what am I going to say? And we're analyzing them, right?
Uh-huh.
What am I going to say that's going to land? That's going to, make this connection keep going, right? Or not, right? But
I
it's
was
like,
literally just doing that while you were talking. I just got, as soon as you said
yes,
that, I caught myself. I'm like, oh shit, I was just thinking about the next thing I was going to follow up with this.
the entire podcast I have to be like focused, you know, really
Right.
listen so that you know, because yeah, we're so excited to talk about all these things, right? But the ability to just slow down and listen. So this throat practice, this throat chakra practice that we did was around owning your own voice and specifically your name. And so how they did it was first, we were in a group and we sang each other's name. So one at a time, we'd be like, Adam, 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 like, and just kind of sing Adam's name while you just sat there and received.
Wow.
Which sounds like, oh, that's nice. But like to have your name sung by a group is like, oh my gosh, thank you. This, to hear your name and to hear your, because that's, you know, like Abby from I Am Alliance was talking about, you know, like that's your first, like the first word that you hear over and over and over again, you know, like that's your badge. And if you can't like say it, like, you know, what are we missing here? Because like you should own all of you. And so the next practice we came back to later after doing some other things was to sing our own name by ourselves in front of the group. So we started it and then the group chimed in, right? Yeah. But you're singing your name and it's like you make up your song. So it's like, I'm Hannah, I'm Hannah, I'm Hannah. And like, but like to sing like, you know, and I won't do it now because I'm just laughing because but it's like, yeah, to sing like that is it's like right now I can feel like there's this like you know, and so to watch all of our individual physical, emotional reactions to this challenge was a trip, you know, like you want me to sing my name, and even people who could, you know, quote unquote, can sing or are musical. Right. We're like, whoa, this is a lot to have this, number one, the spotlight, and then for everyone to hear my voice on its own, saying my name, which, you know, because that's like, we're not, if you're in the spotlight, then you're like, you know, you're ego dude. Right. Like, yeah. So it's like, whoa, it was powerful. And some people had a hard time, you know, and the support that the group gave to help nurture those people and each other. And I was shocked at how I was able to sing and how liberating it was. And I can tell you that 5 years ago, 6 years ago, that would have rocked. Like I don't know if I could have done it. Yeah. But I mean, I would have, but it was hard for me this time. Right. And so I just mean like the throat chakra, boy, it's ready though. It's ready for us to own our voices. It really is. To own our truths and to own our power and to speak with clarity and to speak with intention. You know, I think that's another thing we often I'm so guilty of it. I don't like silence because I want to comfort. I want to make sure everybody feels good. And I often bring in humor because it is comforting, right? And instead of just sitting with stillness or silence.
But, you know, I honestly have to tell you this because I don't know if I've given you this feedback because the past, let's see, I was in half of the last online workshops you were doing and then the full last Reiki mentorship group. And I know that was something you were working on, was trying to let the space land and not just fill it. And so I know and love you. I know your mannerisms. I love the shit out of you. And so to see you sit in what I would perceive your own discomfort after letting something land and knowing that you're like, anybody? Does anybody want to say?
I want to save. Let me save.
And you would just sit there with your cup of tea and you're like, just, okay, we're just going to hold my tea. Hand up. Nope. For my tea. Anybody? And you did such a good job. And I know how when we're trying to
Thank
change
you.
something about ourselves, how discomforting that is, and how like we just want to rely back on our ritual of just like filling the space, But you did a great job. Own that.
Or, even in, speech, like Monica was somebody who gave me feedback, like I say, a lot. Now everybody's going to listen. Yeah. Damn it. But it is part of I'm giving myself space to think, right? But is it necessary?
Right.
Or can I just take a breath?
Right. So my ums and likes, so we have filler words, right? We have filler words while our brain catches up with our mouth, right? We do that. But my filler words are cuss words.
Yes.
Like, the fucking thing, shit, what was I talking about? Oh, that's right, that thing.
I know.
So choose your poison. At least you're G-rated. You're umming.
Yeah.
I'm over here just dropping F-bombs and shits over here.
Depends on what day you catch me. I'm known to throw quite a few F-bombs in there to fill some space.
Oh, yes, I love that.
But yeah, it's a beautiful one to work with. And I think, talking just about voice this weekend, like singing, we are trying to do some like voice activation classes here, and like our staff meeting that we're having tomorrow, everybody's bringing their instruments and we're going to sing.
Oh, that's
and like last night we were singing the chants. It is a vibration, and to activate that in your body, your own vibration, your own cadence, and to play with the range of your sounds and be weird and be primal. And, you don't have to do it in front of anybody, but you can also come and do this kind of weird shit with us.
Totally. I'll be your weird friend.
Group too. So, there's benefits to both ways, but yeah, activating the Vishuddha is really important work for all of us. In this time, we are needed. Our voice is needed, our individual voices.
Yep. And I think the last thing I want to say on this, and you kind of mentioned it earlier, is that when we do find our true voices and we are ready to speak that truth, we got to realize also that we're to not use our truth as a sword, right? Our truth to us might not be somebody else's truth, or they might not be ready for the full impact of what that truth is. So it's also, not just spewing out what the truth and your honesty, but seeing that human across from you and being the teacher, right? Knowing what that human is ready to accept, knowing what that human is ready for, and giving them that, and then backing back off, right? We don't have to slash people down with our swords of truth and say, hey, this is what I see about you. Get fucked. Yeah. Right. It's like, no, hey, lovingly present that truth and help them guide them, help guide them as best you can. Yeah.
And that's what we're looking for in all the chakras is balance.
Yes.
Balance, balance, balance. We don't want any one to be more way open or closed down. And you don't achieve just perfect balance and then regulate at that for like days and days. Right. But I do think that, we do know what it feels like. I mean, leaving a Reiki session is usually people generally leave feeling balanced, like, oh, I just feel regulated. So yeah, we don't want the scales to be tipping too extremely on either side, so yeah, being able to listen and to speak, in a balanced way is so powerful.
Definitely. Well, before we move up to our third eye, just real quick, the root sounds for those last two that we went over. The heart chakra is yam, and the throat chakra is hum. And I remember hum because I like to eat ham, and ham goes in your mouth. Hum. Throat chakra. Ham.
Yum. Yeah. It's so fun to play with those because you really can feel them, in the different spots. And you can play with the different tones, of those sounds. So I love that.
Hell yeah. Well, third eye is one of my favorite chakras to work with. There's a lot of sight. There's the pineal gland that goes with the third eye. Yes. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Anja is the Sanskrit name, and it's like an indigo-ish color, bluish indigo color, and that's our sight. That's our true sight. right? So like think about, it manifests like right between the brow, right at the top of the nose, but also sometimes at the base of the back of the head where the medulla oblongata, that's where our pineal gland is thought to be. And there's a lot of connection between the pineal gland and the third eye. And I love sharing this story because it's so super random. There's a documentary on Netflix. I think it's called Yoga. I'm not sure, but it's about yoga, and it's about asceticism in yoga. And I don't know if the whole documentary is, but they have this section about asceticism, and that's basically the people that that practice something to the extremes, right? So asceticism, like people that whip themselves to feel the pain of God, right? And they can only feel that pain and be connected with God through that pain. And so, there's starvation. There's, Buddha went through a lot of asceticism before he found his enlightenment. But one of the things that I saw in this documentary was, okay, so when at the base of your tongue, there's that little tendon that holds your tongue to the bottom of or that muscle that holds it to the bottom of the mouth. So the idea is over time, and I can't remember how long it is, but over time,
everyone who's listening right now is playing with that little part of
totally. They're like, oh yeah, that's that thing right there. Yeah, I got it. So the idea is okay, and this is just an idea. I'm not saying go out there and try this, but watch the documentary. But so the idea is that there is this right behind your third eye and right between the bridge of your nose and the two eyebrows, there's this golden sac of honey right at or nectar at the back and the inside of your head. And so the way to access that is to fish your tongue up the back of your throat canal in the nasal cavity and then touch the back of that with your tip of your tongue, and it'll open up that nectar. So the way to do that though is to cut the bottom of your tongue from the base of your mouth. And it takes time. It's not just like a one and done. You cut it, then you can touch it. It's like you cut it and then it heals, and then you cut it again, then it heals, and you cut it. And each time it gets a little bit deeper so that eventually your tongue, which is really, really long, it can snake all the way back in your nasal cavity and touch the back of your third eye. And then you touch that nectar sac and you gain enlightenment. Like I have never heard of that before, and I can go on a limb and say I'll never try it, but you never know. I'm only 42.
Not
There's still a lot of years.
Prescribe, but I will. As you talked, I was trying to jam my tongue back into my throat.
Totally.
So,
I was like,
I'm gonna get that nectar.
So that's a bit of an extreme way to activate your third eye, but there's so much information that comes into your third eye that can be accessed from your third eye.
I do like the idea of a little sack of nectar sitting there. Like how precious is that? As a visual, because it's such a, it is honey, and
it's that golden light.
Yeah, that color. Indigo, and sometimes people's purple kind of color. Yes, but doesn't it also when you're just thinking of that sack of honey, I just see the third eye beaming out gold beams, so gold often comes into play up here just because it's divinity, it's divine, it's so
Yeah, and there's a lot of meditations that you've done for me, or I've been a part of that you've led. That and I remember you talk about that golden light that kind of comes down from above, and so that's a very usable phrase that I've heard you use a lot, and I love that. I love that visualization.
I might have to do a little more research and look into this little sack of honey and bring that into one of my meditations. I love that.
Yeah, I love so the third eye for me is it's just a good place to just kind of get a good understanding of what's going on. The third eye for me, I see a lot of clients now that have overactive third eye and crown chakras. In the outside of the metaphysical world and our humanness, a lot of our planning and thinking and all that stuff that's about to happen is going on up here. And right now, those that can't see me, I'm circling my head with my hand. But that's the way that our world is very geared towards right now, is the thinking, the what's next, the thought process, and blah, blah, blah. So there's so much activation in our heads that a lot of people are not grounded whatsoever, right? Because we're so worried about that next thing. And so a lot of times, like, and the way I kind of see that is, it's like jumbled, it's almost like lightning bolts. Like if I put my hand on somebody's head and I feel an imbalance, or what I would perceive as an imbalance, what I see in my head is like blue and white lightning bolts, like just very jagged energy and just like a lot of like staticky, almost like you're watching a static TV from back in the day.
Yeah.
And so, and that's a very common right now. What I would see is common for the people that I'm working with. It's just the area that we're in. There's so much uncertainty with just coming out of COVID, people still not having jobs to go back to, people, now kids are getting out of school and schools are still kind of fucked up. It's like, what are we doing with school? So there's a lot of what is gonna happen going on, and not a lot of like, I'm a human being, let me find my humanness going on. And so like there's got to be that balance, right? And so like just taking that idea, if you feel that jitteriness in your head, if you feel that overactivation, too much planning, too much whatever, take a bath, take your shoes off, go outside, play in some dirt, like do something grounding for yourself.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting that one of the best ways to open this channel is to actually ground.
Right. Yes.
And we talk about this a lot in Reiki training. Traditional Reiki starts at the head. And while, yes, sometimes, often that's where I start, I probably the other half, if not more often, start down at the feet, almost always at the feet with my grounding meditation. And then I might go to the head. A lot of times it's like, oh, we need more grounding before I'm going to go up there.
Right.
Or even I need a full clearing before I'm going to go up there.
Right.
Like with smoke or sound. And yeah, it's to have all of that noise, right? Because it's like, it's almost too much information. It's like too blown out. And you can't hear that one voice because you've got all the other channels turned on, all the tabs open, and it's staticky and the connection's not good.
Right.
It's like, turn it off, turn it all off, and ground and get low and get slow and, turn down.
I've even gone as far as in my practice space at home, we have an eastern facing window, and I used to have the head, so the table, the massage table set up so that the head is facing the window. So it's like window, head, and then down to feet. And what I've actually in the past few months, I've switched it around so that the feet are now facing the window and the head is away from the window, because it's almost like it's adding to that the erraticness, the perceived erraticness of the head, because it's like, here's light coming into where light comes in, and then it's like, okay, well, let's turn it around and have the light come into where the feet are, and let's work with that energy and try to ground and then move up. So to your point,
turn my table around this week. I might turn my table around this week. Mine is facing the window because I like to open the window and let it out.
There you go. Okay. And, so Monica was the one that recommended it to me. And I was like, she said she does it this way because she likes to look out the window, and that helps her in her meditative state. I'm like, okay, I like that. Let's try that. And so, as soon as I switched it was the energetic shift for me. It was like, oh, okay. Good to know.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And that's those little nuances, little nuances of our practice that we start to figure out, paid attention to the way the energies resonate within us. Because I one of the things that you taught me was that, what I feel is not the way you feel, and that doesn't mean one's right or wrong, but we're just different humans, right? I have different things, you have different things, and we have different traumas, we have different, excitements, whatever it is. So the energy for me is going to feel different than the energy for you, right? But it's just tapping into your intuition and really figuring out where the energy is manifesting, how it feels, and just putting your little blueprint from there. There's no owner's manual for this shit. We're all just doing the best we can.
Yeah. Exactly. I love that. And I'm starting to think of like, oh, what are some other practices for working with this area, when it feels really loud, like that. Another practice that we've talked about from Natalie Miles, that she teaches is like the faucet, and imagining that like the third eye is like a faucet, and you can control that flow,
Mm.
you know, how much is coming, so you can turn it down or up. And so you could go into a meditative state and kind of, you know, like turn your faucet down and see the flow, or maybe you want to turn it up, you know, and you've been blocked and you're like, I'm ready. So yeah, the faucet is great. You know, this is like the seat of your intuition, your inner knowing. And so again, stillness and quietness is so important so that you can actually listen, you know, so that, yeah, there can be that space for the messages, the voice, the knowing, however you sense your inner voice, to come through. So yeah, meditation is an amazing practice for this area. Gosh, what are some other fun ones for strengthening intuition?
I found, you know, for just therapeutic side, I found tapping is very helpful for me in the third eye, you know, and that's for both activation and calming down. You know, if I'm trying to activate, you know, I'll go in a counterclockwise. If I'm trying to calm it down, I'll go clockwise. But just that gentle tapping is sometimes that's, you know, just bringing the attention to, hey, this is where we're focusing on right now. You know, I love that.
And when you're closing your eyes in meditation, like looking up towards that area, gives your brain, your eyes somewhere to focus, but it kind of turns it on, you know, and just connects you into that one center, which I also really like.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, this is a fun one. And I think you were right. Like so many people, you know, either it can be pretty loud or it's like they kind of like to just live up there. I'm pretty grounded naturally, but I definitely tend to love that busy, just going constant. And, you know, it's hard on my nervous system. And I think a lot of healers, a lot of people in the kind of spiritual worlds, you know, like that, it feels good up there. It feels buzzy. It feels, you know, feeling that, like that high connection and like blissed out, is nice. And I think we often are seeking that, you know, instead of the lower vibrations down here that are more earthy and humanly. Yeah, we want that high blissed out, gimme.
Well, I think, you know, for a lot of us, you know, maybe we spent so much time in our humanistic chakras, not even realizing we're down there, that once we finally realize there's this other space up here to be, it's like, oh, that's cool. Let's explore that space. But the trick though is, and I find this with a lot of people in spiritual paths of whatever variation, is don't get caught up there, right?
Yeah.
And you know, and it can come out in verbiage as far as just trust the universe, right?
Yeah.
Yes, please put some trust in the universe, but you also have to try yourself, right? It's not just like, I am going to manifest this thing and I'm going to put it out there and then I'm going to sit on my couch and watch Netflix for the next 6 months and wait for it to happen. No, man, you're a human. You're part of this process. Yes, put it out there that this is something you want, but then show how much you want it by doing something about it.
Doing the things.
Yes.
I often energetically kind of ground or plant people while simultaneously letting them stretch up and their heads kind of stretch up towards the clouds. So it's like they can dream with their feet planted, like dream with your feet on the ground, you know, because if you're just up in the clouds, like nothing's going to materialize. And I think that's what can often happen in this area is, you know, things don't materialize. Like, it's like, there's all these fun memes out there, you know, that are like me and my download, you know, or like me when I'm enlightened. And then like, you know, how it looks in reality is like Keanu smoking a cigarette, like all hungover looking and kind of haggard. Like you know, we it's hard to execute some of this stuff because it is this constant like ticker tape and but that's why having your feet on the ground, being grounded, having, you know, balance and all of those other areas, then helps for that to, again, be the clear channel for it to come through and then be manifested in the physical.
Right. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
And then we're moving up to
Love
our last
it.
chakra, our crown chakra.
Crown.
And so crown is one of my favorite chakras too. I mean, I guess they're all my favorite chakras, but
I know, right? I know. I keep saying it about everyone too.
I know. Yeah.
They're like little babies.
Uh-huh. But you know, the crown is it's fun for me because I think, you know, I never when I finally realized there was something out there bigger than me, it's like something bonked me on the head, like right where that crown is, and says, "Hey, finally you're starting to listen. Good for you. All right, now here we go." But it was like it was almost like an immediate thing of like, thank you for finally acknowledging the fact that there's something out there bigger than you. Boom. All right, now let's do this, right?
That's interesting because that's often when I do Reiki on someone's crown, I often have the sense that I'm actually placing their crown on their head as a remembrance. Like, do you know that you're a king? Do you know that you're a queen?
Yeah.
Step into your, you know, your emperorness, step into this, who you really are. Like, it's like, it literally feels like, you know, again, reverence. I mean, that's what all my Reiki sessions are all about, is like, how can I hold space for you? You know, of course we do unblocking and shadow work and the tougher stuff, but I want you to feel held. I want you to feel balanced. I want you to feel restored. I want you to leave feeling nourished so that you can continue to do this work.
Right.
And so it's like, everything to me is reverence, honoring, sacredness. And so, yeah, putting that crown on your head, it's like, oh, here you are. Like, do you feel that? You know? And I think of it as a doorway. I often am like, just open, literally like using my thumbs to open the doorway.
Yeah.
Or like a hatch, you know, 2 doors that you're just opening up. And then that energy can come down. And I often see this as white light, pure white light, or iridescent color, or sometimes I see it as a rainbow, and all 7 of those colors are like coming in at once. And that's been coming up a lot lately. And it's just like, ooh, ooh. Wow. So I love this area. And I think of it as like, you know, is certainly a downward channel,
right?
But also that can overflow into the whole aura, you know, and like we were saying, kind of melt over you, around you, and it's like a bubble. It's like a shield, you know, and then it comes back up, and it doesn't stop. That's how I think of the crown anyway. It's not like, oh, it's just here. It's like, no, it's like what's flowing through everything. Right. Kind of like the root is flowing through. I mean,
right.
They all are.
Yeah. There's a, you mentioned the word remember, right? And so there's a mutual friend of ours, Colleen, she shared this with me a number of years ago, and Colleen's a massage therapist and just an amazing human being, but not, you know, hasn't gone through any official energy work, but she's, goddamn, that woman's tuned in.
She is a master.
And one of the things she tells me is that after every massage session she does, she places her hands on their head, and she wills them to remember how amazing they are, remember their beauty, remember their love, remember their kingship or queenship, whatever it is. And that was one of the reasons why I have the word remember tattooed on my fingers, is because that practice like really dialed into me. And, you know, so when I finish my Reiki session, it's the same thing. It's like I hold that person's head or shoulders, and I'm like, remember. I just remember. Like, we're forgetful humans. Remember how amazing you are. Remember how loved you are. And that it's such a powerful meditation, because, you know, there's parts of me now that I've walked this path that I'm on for a number of years now, that when I find something, let's say I learn something new, is that new? And am I excited because it's new, or am I excited because I'm now remembering something that I was once passionate about, right? Whether it's a previous life, a previous existence, a previous understanding of whatever it is that true original excitement, or is that excitement because it's like, finally I remembered the thing that I didn't fucking know I forgot, right?
Yeah.
And now we're here, and now we're learning about cool shit again, and I think there's something very strong with that remembrance word, not just the remembering of a thought that was once forgotten, but actually like the reconstituting of a member that was once together, that was separated, and now we're putting a member, we're remembering it, that thing, just like ourselves, we're remembering the knowledge that we once had, the experiences that we once had, and we're putting that as part of our member as a human being again. There's so much to that one. I love it so much.
It's powerful stuff. Yeah. One of my favorite ways to tap into that, and we may have done this in other chakras, or other calls, but that, it's, a little bit of a play from, other meditations use this, but in, Kundalini yoga, they vibrate the cosmos. And so I love to do that. So just rubbing your hands together and really pressing your hands together and creating that heat, that friction. And you want to do it till your hands, like your whole arm feels hot and lit up. And then separate your hands, 2 to 3 inches. And kind of feel that energy between your hands. And then you can start to vibrate that energy by just turning your hands in a circle up, kind of opposite of each other. And then I like to take that ball of energy and put it over your crown. And then from there, you can kind of like an egg, crack it open and let it spill all over you.
Wow.
Or you could program it you could take that same energy and program it, chakra to chakra, and hold your hands kind of either on those chakra points or right above them. But it's really taking that, like all of that energy from above, all of that protection, and all of the vibration of the cosmos, which is everything, and literally like bringing it into your auric field and vibrating your own cosmos, because it really, like within each one of our cells is like a cosmic, experience happening. And I've been listening to some of Zach Bush's stuff recently, where he's talking about that, like what's happening inside of just one cell. It's literally its own universe within one cell, and we have over 70 trillion of them in our body. Like we are infinite. It's insane.
Zach Bush's approach to medical or just medicine and spirituality is amazing. I think within the last 6 months, I've just found that guy. And I'm just jaw-droppingly astounded every time I hear him talk. Yeah, it's fantastic.
I know, they really are almost like environmental sermons. Because it's about cellular health of ourselves, but also the planet.
Right.
And how does the human race survive this thing?
Right. Yeah.
We might not.
Hey, you never know, You don't know. Exactly.
But it also, like, if we want to be here, like, how do we feel good? How do we be connected to place, to time, to earth?
Yeah. Like how do we look at where we're at now and even change some of the past ways we've done things to now be more conscious about how we do things going forward? And I think we do that in general. Look at the way we raise families now. Like families used to be raised very iron fist like, right? People had tons of kids because the success rate of having children wasn't that high. So you'd have 12 kids hoping that 6 would survive and they could work on the farm. We now know that's not right. So we've adjusted the way we raise families. We're not hard-handed on them. We're not beating children anymore. We're not just putting them to work as soon as they can walk. We're now educating kids and showing them love. And even the way we're educating them is changing, right? So we're changing the way as we start to develop. And, that should be just the basis of humanity. As we get better understandings of things, we change and we adapt to the way humanity is moving towards, but we just, a lot of our economic systems are wrapped up in the ways things used to be and the way things were once accepted, because there's monetary value in that. And so now we're battling that idea of, okay, this is better for us in a long run, but we have billions and trillions of dollars wrapped up in this fossil fuel kind of system. So how do we now raise our humanity's standards up to this new energy efficient way without totally demonizing and bastardizing an economy, which, hopefully the word economy can just go out the window eventually, and we can just really have a systems based that is best, has the planet's best interest in mind, whatever that is. Right. But I think that the thing is, like, we're smart enough to know and to figure out how to do this. We just have to get people on board with it and show a different way, right? And that approach is very different, because some people are very like scientifically based. I want to see the facts, and some people are more idea based, and they can see the understanding of. But that's I think a lot of that is, when we start to find connection to something bigger than us, and we start to understand that it's not just me and my family, if that's your structure base, or me and just me sometimes, right? Sometimes we can't even see outside of ourselves. That's the connection that I think people finally get once they find a spiritual or religious connection, is that maybe it's almost like a breath of fresh air. It's like, oh my God, thank God I'm not on my own. It's not all just me. I can let my guard down. I don't have to be the strong ego because I think I'm the only one that can get shit done. That's the way I was raised, And so, like, when we can finally realize that there's something out there bigger than us, it's almost like, God, thank God I don't have to fucking make all the decisions.
Yeah. I think exactly. And I think you said something earlier too about adaptability. And that's what this work is all about. That's what mindfulness, that's what meditation, that's what, trying to work with your chakras to find balance. It's about adaptability, because if we don't find adaptability to this modern world, our nervous systems are never going to make it.
Right.
Like, we are fried out already as it is. And so it's like, how can we adjust and change? How can we take what's old and beautiful and learn from that and apply it to our modern world, and how do we take all of this incredible knowledge that we have? The power is within us, to do this. But yeah, I think that's what this is all about, working with the chakras and all of that. It's like adaptability so that we can continue foraging ahead,
right? Yeah.
And I absolutely also agree with you about connection. Anybody who has been on the other side of like not being connected can tell you how amazing it feels on the other side, whatever your belief system is, even if it's your own connection just to your own internal voice, or to the earth, like to land. Like, it doesn't have to be God, it doesn't have to be universe, it doesn't have to be the cosmos, it can be very tangible, but it's like a connection to something though that's bigger than just your work, your production, what you do as a human. And it's more like, how are you being in this planet right now, in your life, in your body, how are we connecting to each other? And I think that when you have that connection to something beyond just this, you then can have connection to others, people in your community, so much easier as well. And isolation and all of that, fear, aloneness, like having to go through it alone, like all of that dissipates, all of that softens when we are connected, when we allow ourselves to be supported, because there is so much support out there. I think that's, like, we talk about the remembering. That's another thing that I'm always programming into people, is the remembering of how supported they are, by their energetic team, by themselves, by the whatever systems they have, but it's like, you are not broken, you are not alone. Like, so yeah, it's a fun journey.
It really is, and that feeling of not being alone is something special. And it's not something I realized I felt until I didn't feel alone anymore. I didn't realize how introverted my life had led to my loneliness. And I had a family. I had kids. I had a fiance at the time. All that stuff. And but just lonely as shit because I wasn't tapped in. I thought it was all on my own.
Totally.
But there's in and you mentioned this earlier, just because we bring awareness to something bigger than us, or we change something in our lives, that doesn't automatically flip the switch to being okay, right? And I'll take drinking for example. When I quit drinking, there was an underlying thought in my head that once I quit drinking, all my problems would go away because the catalyst for those problems would go away. Well, a lot of them did, but the reason I started drinking in the first place was very, very bright and shiny, and I don't know if I was ready to deal with it at that time, but hey, I'm sober now, fucking deal with it, right? So, just because we find our higher power, or just because we step into our spiritual path, whatever that change is, that doesn't make everything great and rosy and shiny. Sometimes it makes it so much fucking harder because now you're having to go back and undo decades of shit that you've gone through and decades of understandings that you think are your beliefs. So, but the other side of that is once you walk that path and you start to find your light and your variation of what that means to you, there's no going back, right? Once you see that light, there's no, putting tape back on that bad boy. You're not covering it back up. It's just going to get brighter and brighter. And that work is hard, but it makes it worth it because you see how hard it is and you see the benefit of coming out on the other side of that shit.
And, and I know you and I both see it on the regular with our clients, with people in the classes that we teach, in this space, in the places you're holding sound baths, you see that reconnection.
Yeah.
And like you said, usually there's no going back, something gets lit up and it's beautiful to witness. And every time it does, it just lights me up even more as well and reconnects me that much deeper too. So it's, again, we're walking the path together, all of us. So
yeah,
it's pretty amazing.
I think you put it this way. You're the first person I heard say this, but it was one of our first Reiki trainings. You said Reiki is like we're walking each other home, and that's the feeling that I get when I do feel let's say connected, right? And that's connected to a human being, to my higher power, whatever it is. I do feel that familiarity of like going to my mom's house on Thanksgiving Day and just smelling the food and feeling the love and feeling the warmth and feeling the music and whatever nostalgia is wrapped up in your best memory. That's the way I feel when I feel connected. I feel warm, I feel loved, I feel cared for, I feel like I have a purpose, I feel like I have direction, and it really does feel like I'm just walking back into my mom's house, and whatever home is for you, right? But that's the feeling that I get, that comfort.
I love that. Yeah. I love that. It is like coming home. It's so beautiful.
Yeah. Well, Hannah, thanks for welcoming me into your home virtually. I always love our time together, and especially when it's scheduled time, because I'm like, oh, I know I'm going to hang out with Hannah today, and I'm really excited about that.
It's literally the best. I'm down to do it all the time, anytime. Hell so. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to hang out with you and your community. I know a lot of you guys are my friends on there. So hi, and thanks for listening, everybody. I can't wait to connect with you all. Feel free to check out Anam Cara's website. You can drop into any of our virtual classes, and love to see you guys.
Yeah, most definitely. Support Instagram, social media. Like, Hannah's doing awesome stuff. And if you're out in the Eastern Washington area, check her out. I'm sure if you make it back to this side, you'll let us know when you're going to be doing some stuff. But either way, one way or the other, find your healing, whether it's in person, virtual, go check her out. She's fantastic. I love you so much, Hannah.
Love you. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you so much for spending time with Hannah and I. I'll leave a bunch of information in the show notes on how to get in touch with Hannah and myself. Please make sure to check out the Anam Cara Center, whether online or if you're in Spokane in person. It's a beautiful space. Hannah is doing amazing things with her meditation and her offerings to the world. Thank you so much. Obeisance and love to y'all. We'll see you next time.